Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated economist here. So, thought I'd talk a little bit more about the dollar today because I get a lot of people who tell me that I am absolutely crazy. Nobody wants the dollar. Cash is trash. Money printer go burr until everything is completely crashed and everybody dies, right? I mean, this seems to be the common theme that I get from a lot of people saying that cash is just worthless. The US dollar is no good. However, if you go and you look around the world right now, there is a huge demand for dollars. Dollars are the world reserve currency. There is no shaking that. It will change at some point in the future, but that's not happening tomorrow, and it's not going to happen the next day. Now, go and look at places like China when it comes to some of their corporate debts, like Evergrande, the biggest property developer in the world. Their whole debt rating, credit rating, and everything is all based off of their dollar debt. Like, they have all this debt that they owe, and a small section of that is the dollar denominated debt, the stuff that they owe back in US dollars. And that is what everybody is focused in on. If they have trouble paying that back, then they're going to have trouble borrowing money going into the future because their credit rating is going to drop. Everybody is focused in on that dollar denominated debt. So this is going to be taking place all over the globe. As the United States and the Federal Reserve go into their monetary tightening policies, they haven't even done it yet, right? Just the sheer idea of them going into raising interest rates and unwinding their balance sheet by reducing the amount of assets that they hold. This idea has the world in panic. Everybody is scrambling for dollars, looking for the liquidity, making sure that they can secure what it is that they have in order to pay their debts. Now, just go and look at places like Sri Lanka. I'm going to leave a bunch of links down in the description for you guys. Sri Lanka is not doing well. They are in serious economic pain. And go and read through some of the articles. Look at what it is that's taken place. They have a dollar shortage issue, right? This is the problem. This is where the nation has issues trying to get the imports that they need in order to have a functioning economy. They can't get it in because they don't have enough dollars. Look at what they're doing. They have to go and try and borrow money from India, China, they don't want to go to the IMF, although a lot of people are telling them they need to go to the IMF and get a lifeline. They sold half of their gold reserves. Right? Half of what they had in gold reserves they've sold. But right now, they are sitting in a position in which they only have about a month and a half of reserves, and they completely run out of money. They won't be able to get any more imports. And it's worse than that, because a good chunk of those reserves that they have came from a Chinese swap that they had done. And this particular amount of money that come from China can't be used for whatever they want. Apparently, they have to use this on Chinese imports. You see, they said, here's a bunch of money that we're going to loan to you so long as you buy our stuff. Right? This is what's coming from. So Sri Lanka right now is going to be they're definitely a case study. Let's watch and see what happens in Sri Lanka. Let's see how much the dollar is worth here in a couple of weeks when they completely run out of supplies, right? Unless they get some sort of loan from another nation or take the deal with the IMF or somehow maybe restructure their debt, they're going to either default or they're going to start starving. Those are the two positions in which that they can go. And so this is what I'm saying is if you keep an eye on Sri Lanka, look at how the people behave. Look at what they do. Look at what they do to try and secure their wealth. Look at what they do to try and secure food. Look at what they do to try and deal with the fact that they're going to have a society that breaks down, and how it is that the government deals with the people. Do they go in with military? Do they go in with aid? Do they go in with an idea that they're going to have to go deeper into debt, sell off even more gold reserves, or maybe even give up even more of the natural resources? That was another thing. I forget what it was. It was in the article, but some facility that they ended up like leasing to China for the next 99 years because they couldn't afford to make the payment on one of their projects that they had going. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I had a little bit better idea. I should have wrote that down as far as that goes, but I just remember reading that in the article. And these are some of the things that these nations have to be worried about. I mean, like, it's just like, oh man, guys, I'm sorry, I can't make my payment to you. And they're like, well, that's okay. You got a wonderful port, and you got some energy going on there, and you got some other stuff going that we could use here. And unfortunately, since you owe it to us, you're gonna have to kind of sign that deal over. And too bad for you, and too bad for your citizens for the next 99 years. Right? This is the type of deals that they have to go into on account of them not being able to make their payments. So I can see where Sri Lanka is very adamant about, like, no, we will make our payment. And if the people have to suffer for it, so be it. It's going to be better for them in the long run to suffer today than to try and suffer for the next 99 years under the thumb of a foreign government due to a bad debt payment that you couldn't make. So this is the situation in which that they're going into. Now, when I say that, you have to keep an eye on places like Sri Lanka and China. Think about the demand for dollars that's going to happen there. I mean, they already have like the foreign exchange, or the exchange rate between their sovereign currency and the dollar has been frozen at the banks, but yet you can go to the black market and get a much better return on it. So I think they locked it in at, I forget what they call the local currency there, but it's like they locked it in at 210 to 1. So 210 of their sovereign currency to $1. Well, you go out onto the black market and you can get 250 to the 1, because that's how much demand for dollars there are within this nation. See, as they use their local currency, it gets worse and worse for them. They are no longer able to buy the things that they could. When inflation gets really bad, from the moment that you get paid in the morning, you cannot buy the same amount of goods by the end of the day. Some places will even start paying you twice a day, like we saw that happen in Venezuela. Now, I don't think that it's moved to that extreme in Sri Lanka yet, but this is the situation that they're in, where their local sovereign currency does not buy nearly what it once did. So if you had a huge savings, it isn't doing you any good right now, as that savings is depleting every day from purchasing power. Like, you just do not have the purchasing power left in it. So these guys, the citizens there, are moving, the people are moving their local currency into dollars, because dollars is the safe haven place to be. Everybody wants it. Everybody uses it, including the government itself, in order to make the purchases of imports that they need in order to have a functioning government, or a functioning economy, and functioning government, I guess, for that matter as well. So take a look at some of those links down in the description. Keep an eye on these things. This is why I feel that there is going to be demand for dollars going into the future. It's because of nations just like Sri Lanka, and because of corporations around the world like Evergrande, and even yesterday when we were talking, like, Ukraine is issuing out bonds in their sovereign currency, but yet there's been plenty of investors out there who said, if you issued out those debts in dollars, you would have a hell of a lot more demand for them, and the interest rate that you would pay would be a lot less. But that's a very dangerous position to be in, because if the dollar starts to tighten up like it is right now, the pain starts to set in on places like Sri Lanka or Evergrande, or what could be Ukraine, if they were to issue out too much dollar-denominated debt and the dollar strengthened up too much. This is currency wars, guys. This is how they do it. Like, they get everybody into debt, owe it all in US dollars, and then start tightening up those US dollars that are out there, and all of a sudden people can't make their debt payments, and they have to sell out for a whole lot cheap, right? A whole lot cheaper than what they thought they were going to. All right, I'm going to go in and have some lunch. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.